One of the challenges that artists very often go through is the business side of art, how you're going to sell your art. It's an amazing experience to be a creative person, to have lots of ideas, to have a number of mediums that you want to work with. But what are you going to do with all this art that you create? What opportunities are there to sell? I'm Shoshana Shear, and I'm a little bit in transition from being an occupational therapist to focusing on my art. In today's video, I decided to share some research I'm doing and also a little bit of my journey, a little bit of pros and cons of print on demand, print on products, in my own journey towards selling my art. And I'll start off by saying that I was raised to believe, I heard from many people, that it's impossible to be successful as an artist. You'll be a starving artist. You can't earn from your art. I was even told that I had no talent to pursue anything of an artistic career, and far better to rather focus my time, energy, and efforts into studying a profession that would earn me a livable wage, that I could be independent. And well, sometimes life doesn't turn out the way that people want you to. Following and researching, watching a number of videos of other artists who have become successful, many talk about the fact that it's natural for family to be concerned about how will you earn if you're an artist. So I have an idea of a video that I'd love to chat about the importance of art in our lives, and let me know in the comments below if that's a video that's of interest to you. It's some fun thoughts. We'll get to that shortly, but I thought that I'd turn the camera around and browse through a couple of images that I have and show you what my thoughts are of why I'm looking to explore print on demand, printing onto products, the pros and cons that I've discovered so far, what I've used so far, the platforms I'm considering using or researching further, and I hope in another video further down the line to do a little bit more of a review. So if this is of interest to you, please let me know. And let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what your needs are. Before I talk any further, let's turn around the camera and I'll see you shortly with some of my artwork. I know that people like to look at artwork, so let's chat while I show you some of my art, and maybe I can answer some questions that you have and hopefully put some of my challenges to good use. If I can help somebody else be the successful artist that they're born to be, then at least there'll be benefit to some of my struggles. See you shortly on the other side. So here we've moved into the room that's kind of transforming into my art studio. I don't always actually do art in here. Sometimes I do art in our salon. This room still has a lot of clearing and sorting to do. It's not big enough for what I'm needing, but in order to make the transition, I need to get earning, selling more of my art, which is some of the thought process has taken place in order to begin really selling my art at a better level. And I would say that a mistake that I made, that I wish I'd been told, and I've learned a good tip by researching and listening to quite a lot of videos, is as I mentioned in the introduction, a number of people said to me, if you try pursuing your art, you'll be a starving artist. And I've learned two tips which I've shared in a previous video, and I'm going to say it again, that there are two avenues of learning that are very important to be an artist. The one is one's skills, and the other is the business side of art. And if you're learning the business side, then chances are you have a greater potential to be earning. So along the way of the business side comes some business decisions. I know there are a number of artists who don't like certain platforms for selling one's print-on products. Platforms like Fine Art America, Society6, Redbubble. There are a number of artists who don't like those platforms for a number of reasons. One artist that I spoke to said that it's too time consuming to put her work up onto the print-on product platforms, and the amount that one can earn is relatively limited. So my reason for considering and really pursuing and working towards putting some of my art up is because here you can see a stack of quite a lot of my various different sizes of sketchbooks and albums. I do have more. This is not all that I have. Over a number of years of doing my art. Some of the more abstract designs were done partly as my own healing, as I've been working from healing from a chronic illness and making a number of life decisions and changes. This particular album that's right on the top is the one that I'm going to start chatting through. I'm not going to be looking at all of these sketchbooks and albums right now, but in this album I had started quite a number of years ago. I forget at which stage. It could be the early 1990s, if I'm going to be honest about the dates. Some of them would have been 1996, I know definitely. The exact dates I'm not sure of, but definitely the 1900s, the 1990s. I had been doing a number of these abstract kind of drawings, and I started playing with doing some geometric designs and also drawing some dolphins. I like doing quite a number of designs that have to do with hearts. They were all in the album, and I've taken them out to start to sign, to make sure that all of the images are signed and prepared to photograph, to be able to put up onto, print onto products. And the reason that I decided that, although there are people who are not in favor of these platforms, I had prepared these particular cards and drawings to be printed onto cards. That's what I was exploring doing many years ago. And in those days, the only avenue available for printing onto cards was to go into a store and have them print in bulk, which turned out to be really pricey per each card, per each design. You had to have the space to be able to store the cards. You had to be able to know that the design you'd be printing would be, there was a market for it, that there was benefit to doing so. I had started testing some of these cards in a craft market that I had a table. I also started painting some of my designs onto t-shirts, painting by hand, not printed onto products. And there are many costs involved, but these designs were all prepared. Here I started doing some pen and ink drawings, which were done partly as designs that I painted onto both cushion covers and onto t-shirts. And some of them I started, let's see if I can find, I started duplicating. There we go, you can see how I duplicated one of the designs of butterflies that I then printed up as a memo pad, and this was done with I laminated it and put magnets on the back, and that was a fun way that I sold these at a craft market many years ago. So these were designs that I had already prepared with the intention of having them printed onto cards, onto postcards, onto, I hadn't at that stage thought of printing onto t-shirts. At that stage I was painting directly onto t-shirts and to cushion covers, but I quite like the idea of printing onto other products because of the fact that once I've done a design, it's the opportunity to have more reach. One idea is that I'm really working towards being able to paint larger canvases. I do have some canvases inside, and the costs of a really large abstract would get into a price bracket that not everybody can manage. So having designs available to print onto products does make one's art accessible and affordable to those people who have a lower budget. So that's one attraction, one benefit of printing onto products. Another benefit is that I'm not having to keep the stock, and I'm not having to outlay to print in bulk, which is a great attraction. And something else that for me is very valuable, and it's a gift that there are these sites available now, is that they handle the printing onto the product, the packaging of the completed product, shipping it out to the customer. That's all handled by the companies that have these print on product platforms. And to me, that's an advantage while I'm setting up a few different income streams, while I'm working on leveling up my income to move to larger space, that I have a bigger studio, and for other reasons that I'm needing larger space too. This design, I have a larger one that I did on A4, so that was a reduced one. I'm going to circle back in a minute and speak a little bit about one of the gifts that I found within here. I've been searching for it for a while. But let's just complete some of the pros and the cons of printing onto products. So a benefit is you don't have to outlay anything up front. If you get a sale, you know that there's that sale, so there's less risk of having printed out a lot of stock. You don't have to store stock. If you're moving a lot or you're traveling, some artists like to travel. If you're traveling, then I'm peeping back around the corner. Instead of you're constantly looking at a closed album, I'll come back to something that I have for a specific reason that I'm getting to opening up this album once more. But to go back to the pros and the cons, you're not having to lay out a lot for the printing of bulk quantity, which does reduce costs both for the artist and for it gives you the opportunity for a better profit margin. But the downside is that you're having to store your stock, you're having to take the time to do shipping, you're having to be involved with all of these things, where if you're wanting to work on improving skills or working on doing larger canvases, or you're like me and you're changing your workspace from having one function to being a different function, then it's tremendously advantaged to have that opportunity for some passive income. And so that's a great attraction for me. These designs were already done for the intention of printing onto certain products. In today's time, there's tremendously more opportunity for the products that one can be printing onto. I haven't yet decided what to do with some of my t-shirt designs. I did have a number of t-shirts that I painted by hand, and at some craft markets I got a little bit frustrated where people would say to me they'd pay me 15 shekels for a hand-painted t-shirt, where the cost of the t-shirt itself was 15 shekels, and that negated and cut out completely all of the time and the work involved in that individual design that I'd painted onto the product. So now having the opportunity to rather prepare that design and have it available to be printed numerous times, that's There's lots of benefit to that. The other thing is that it gives the opportunity for me to be able to earn what I need to improve. I'm needing to improve my camera for photographing a number of my artwork, in order to do more quality artistic prints, and also to photograph my artwork for putting into my store. I do have an online store. One of the things that's an advantage of some of the platforms is that you can integrate it with your website. The downside, being from Israel, there's a little bit of a complex tax system here. That the tax is not just a general tax for the if you're earning a certain amount, then you're going to be taxed on that earnings, but rather the amount that comes into one's PayPal, with the integration being that the payment happens on PayPal, that the amount that one's taxed for Bitur Leumi, which is the national health insurance, is on the complete total amount. So that would include the cost of the shipping and the cost of the product. That, for example, I have a video that I did of how I enjoyed Printful. Printful is the first platform that I started experimenting with and working with. So here I'm talking about Printful specifically. If I use Printful, the costs involved for the product and the shipping and handling, together with my profit margin, which is not so big a profit margin on Printful, really on all of these sites, the artist doesn't get too big a profit. If I'm only earning $5 or $10 for a particular design, and the rest of the expense, there is opportunity later on to get tax deduction from the expenses involved, but unfortunately one has to also list the full bulk amount that's coming into one's so in other words, let's put this into a mathematical figure, make it a lot easier. If an item is printed onto a mug, and the mug sells for, let's say it's 40 shekels, and it's just a random number that I've selected. I don't remember the costs of the mugs. I'd have to go and look at them in my store. But let's say that the cost of the mug was 40 shekels, and the shipping was, let's say, I don't know, 20 shekels, which makes it 60 shekels that comes into your PayPal. But the amount that I as an artist am receiving, which is my profit or my royalties, is only going to be about 5 shekels, perhaps 10 shekels at the most, and I'm being taxed on that full 60 shekels. So there's problems with that. It also means that I get to a stage that I'd have to be listing for VAT far quicker than if I'm just on some of the other platforms, such as Society6 or Fine Art America. One of the benefits is that you're receiving just the royalty. My husband has sold a few of his photographs, I think, via Fine Art America, and in that situation he received just the profit of his $10, and there was no need to be receipting and listing the full amount. So that's a business kind of question that we have here in Israel. It's a question that I'm grappling with. I haven't yet decided which platform to go with. Something that I would say is that it's important to have a budget available to order a number of samples of one's artwork. I don't know how some of my artwork is going to be printing onto a number of the products. I've only so far ordered, I think, 3 samples from Printful. I would like to get a number of more samples. I have started to dabble with doing a store both on Redbubble and on Fine Art America. I have not yet purchased any samples, so I can't compare the quality of the print as yet. I think I would like to order the same kind of print or the same design onto a few different items and from a few different platforms in order to help to decide which platform I prefer, because I do like to go for quality. Something that's nice about Printful is it has more and more eco-friendly and sustainability types of products in their platform, in their website. It's also quite fun to be able to, they have lots of elements that you can put together a design. It's not so easy to be able to figure out what the final print would be like of a design that one's making up in this small little area that they give for the where it would be on a t-shirt or on a mug, for example. So it's not so easy. It's a little bit addictive to be sitting and playing with designs, but I've taken a back seat on that because I thought I'd prefer to improve my skills in designing so that I know that the end design that comes out that would be going on to any product, that it would be worth its while putting into my store and not just some kind of a fun thing that I sort of splashed together. That's not the way that I like to work. I like to do a lot of detail. I like to do a lot of abstract. I would like to get a number of my abstract drawings to be backgrounds and perhaps put some sayings onto them, which I have already on some of the art that's over here. So those are some thoughts that I have so far. I'd love to hear from you if you've tried any of the different platforms. And before I end off, I have a little bit of a story related to the gift that I found over here, which I'll turn around the camera once again and chat to you about some of it. Okay, so here is the, as I was taking out these cards to be able to make sure that they're all signed, I do have some stamps that I put onto the back of the cards, but I wanted to make sure that the front of each of the cards was signed before putting them onto, photographing them and preparing them to print onto products. And in going through, I discovered a photograph of a painting that I did in high school, and for me that was quite exciting. I've been hunting for this picture for a while. I wanted to share it with a friend of mine. Unfortunately, in one of my many moves, somebody connected with the family had misplaced. I don't know exactly what happened to my artwork from high school. It sort of disappeared or got destroyed or got thrown out or something. But I did have a photograph of some of the things. I have a drawing of a sketch, and this was from going back before my university days, where certain people had said to me that I didn't have the, that's a tree that I did some years ago that I would quite like to redo some. I love doing nature, so I had come across that as well. But unfortunately, I was led to believe that I didn't have any sufficient talent to be an artist or to pursue an art degree of any kind. And this painting over here is one that I remembered many times, and I would think to myself, but there was a lot of concept that went into this painting. The fun of having a number of skills that I use. I'm using a knitting needle here to show you. You can see some of that. Here I have an image of the continent of Africa with a skull, a metamorphosis of the shape of Africa that went into a skull. And there are all sorts of meanings and concepts and depth that went into that image. And here I have, I'll turn the camera around again. So I refound this photograph And it's something that was bothering me for ages, because I thought to myself, there was so much concept and so many different aspects that went into that painting. But not only that, there's a certain style to that painting that really is the kind of style of my art, that I love telling stories through my art. I love combining a certain amount of color, a certain amount of abstract, as is in the background of that particular painting. There's certain detail, but the detail is all symbolic, and it, as I say, it tells a story. And I've decided to try and find and to photograph a number of my pieces of art and put that into a book, if that's of interest to you. To, instead of doing an artist memoir, I'd rather explain and share some of the art pieces that I have and some of the style of my art. I've often wondered to myself, where would I fit? Would I call myself an abstract artist? I'm inspired a lot by nature, a lot by color, a lot by light. But I do enjoy sharing stories a lot, messages, information through my art. And on one of the artists that I follow from time to time, there's a couple, Raffi and Klee, that I often watch the artist tips that they give. And some time ago, he was answering a question as to what kind of art does he create, and he was saying that he creates Raffi art. And that for me was amazing, because that's very much how I describe my art, is it's Shoshana art. So I can't say that it's only abstract. I can't say that it's realistic. I like to tell stories. It's perhaps conceptual. There are a number of terms that could be used, but there's a new project on the go now to put some of these, to photograph in sufficient quality and to explain some of the messages behind some of this art. So that's, again, some of the motivation as to my photographing and getting some of these designs that are already, they're available already. So I might as well photograph them and see what I can do to turn them into designs to be put onto products. And in the meantime, I hope that I'll earn sufficient to improve my camera for certain aspects that I need in photographing my art, to have better quality artists' prints and getting it out. I have been a little bit concerned from time to time about the copyright issue. Some artists say they don't do anything, some do something. I hope that by having a book out that'll explain some of my art, that'll help to verify that it is my style of art. It's taken a lot to get me to start to discuss more, to share more, but I hope this little video will help to help you to see some of, and to go through some of the journey, the thought process involved that I'm going through in deciding that I would give a try to putting my designs onto print onto products, print on demand. As to which platform I will be using or trying, there are a number of platforms available. On the one hand, that's very confusing, but on the other hand, it gives the opportunity to, number one, get one's art out into many different platforms, which gives the opportunity to be found in many more avenues. Also, I decided if I start with a certain number of designs and test them on different platforms, number one, I can discover which of those platforms has the quality that I'm looking for. I'm interested in looking at the profit margin available. An artist friend of mine here in Israel says she's happy with using Society 6. Some artists that I've seen online have certain questions about Society 6 for certain reasons. I haven't yet set up my store there. Again, the platforms that I've started so far are Printful, Redbubble, and Fine Art America. The only place that I've sold so far is through Printful, integrated through my own website. And I hope in another video in the not too distant future to do a review and a comparison perhaps between those websites and platforms that I do order some samples from. And if you're interested, I can share a little bit about my progress, how I'm progressing and gathering all my art together, preparing it to be able to be put online. And that's my video. I hope it's answered some questions for you. One lesson that I did learn in going through my art and in thinking about what's held me back, what got me believing some caring people that I came into contact with who were concerned that I'd be earning sufficiently, and saying to me that they were worried that I wouldn't have the sufficient talent to be a successful artist. When my art disappeared in one of the moves, it set me back for quite some time. And some of the reason for that partly is because there were other paintings within that bundle of artwork that had disappeared that I really liked and I really enjoyed, and I couldn't understand why it was that people would say to me that I didn't have even the potential to try. And looking back on it, since I had some photographs, I have some other photographs I need to go and find. What I would like to say, it's taken a lot for me to come to realize that instead of getting stuck and instead of believing the naysayers, what I could have done is repaint that picture, maybe improve the picture, bring it out again, and perhaps I'll do that and redo the painting. But instead of getting stuck and listening to the naysayers and getting sidetracked into a different profession, that although there's tremendous benefit to occupational therapy, it has not brought me blessing, and there has not been the financial success or the potential to be independent at all. On the contrary, having picked up an infection from a client of mine many years ago, it not only has not helped me to be independent, but it's given me a certain disability in many ways, but it has also kicked me back into my art. So perhaps it wasn't completely bad. I've learned a lot, I've gained a lot, perhaps I've helped some people along the way, and now it's time to focus on my art. So if you have people who are giving you any kinds of messages that are saying, we're concerned, get into a profession, getting a degree and being in a profession does not guarantee that you're going to earn enough. Neither does it guarantee that you'd have the time to do the art that you want to do. So please don't lose sight of your art if you're a creative person. For me, that's very much, I can't stop myself. I have to keep on creating. And when I don't have the time because I'm too busy doing everything else that's necessary for the admin, the treating people, the continuing education, and so on, it didn't help me to get to do my art. One last thought I'll say, I was going to keep this for another video, but one last thought I'd say is, in a journal I came across recently in my deciding which items to keep and which to let go of, the article was talking about the changes that take place naturally to one's hands and one's hand function as you age. And if you get to 60 years old, there's the potential that you're going to be losing strength, you're going to be losing dexterity. That happens naturally. If you've had any injury along the way, one's ability to function will be even less the more that you age, especially when you're getting to 60. So the idea of leaving your art until you retire, why wait? If that's something that's really who you are, why wait and risk that your hand function won't be of a level that you'll be able to do your art? So with that thought, I encourage if you're an artist, to pursue your dream, to do your art. I'm in the process of learning what I can to improve my business, the business side, to have the courage to share my art, which is what I've started to do over here. And with that, I open up If you have any questions or you have any comments you'd like to share, do put a comment or a question in the comments below. And if you've tried doing print on products, I'd love to hear which platforms you're succeeding in, what your experiences have been, or if you have any tips to share with fellow artists. So with that, I wish you a blessed day and happy creating if you do create. If you like to buy art, let me know what kind of art you enjoy, or what your needs are. There are many reasons as to why I like the idea of printing onto products, but I do have the urge to get to paint quite large paintings, some of nature, some of abstract, some of telling certain stories, and completing the book of explaining some of my art too. So with that, Shoshana Shea coming to you from Yerushalayim, and I wish you a blessed day. Hope to see you or to read your comments. I do take the time to read all of the comments that come in. I do moderate the comments for certain reasons. If you've enjoyed this video, please do consider subscribing, click that bell button or the like, give it a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you in another video. Ciao for now.